is we do have some of the nominations for the College Football Hall of Fame. Now, if you guys haven't been to the College Football Hall of Fame, it's down in Atlanta, Georgia. Highly recommend going. It was a really good experience. I personally went there last year, and it was an extremely good time. Now, there were a total of, I believe it was 19 total nominees between coaches and players, but certainly a few people of note that I definitely wanted to highlight because they were players that I specifically remember growing up. First, got to give the flowers to Mark D'Antonio. He was the head coach at Cincinnati, but more importantly, more notably, he's the head coach at Michigan State. Took Michigan State Spartans to the college football playoff, took them to heights that really have not been experienced before. So Mark D'Antonio actually had Michigan State competing for a national championship, which is crazy to think about. So congratulations to Mark D'Antonio. There was another coach in here, Frank Solich, coached a few years at Nebraska, but spent a lot of time at Ohio. Coached at Ohio for almost actually at least 15 years. So Frank Solich had a really good career at Ohio, had Ohio consistently in the hunt for MAC championships during his time at Ohio University in Athens. So definitely love that he's in the College Football Hall of Fame now. Few other players that I actually do remember and recognize. Justin Blackmon, the former wide receiver from Oklahoma State, ended up being the 5th overall pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars back in 2012. While he didn't have that stellar career in the pros, in college, dude was that guy. He had over 1,500 yards 2 consecutive years. Bro had 41 career touchdowns in 3 seasons. Declared for the NFL after his junior campaign, he was a problem. He was an absolute problem. And yeah, he was that type of guy. Congratulations to Justin Blackmon. But someone who arguably had the best hands in pro football history, at least modern pro football history, Larry Fitzgerald. Everyone remembers Larry Fitzgerald in the NFL and how it just seems like he never dropped a pass. Never dropped a pass. I think I saw a crazy stat where he had more touchdowns than drops in his career, which is absolutely insane to think about. But at Pitt, he was really good at Pitt as well. After he was redshirted his freshman year, 2002 and 2003, dude was on a tear. He had 34 touchdowns in 2 years. He had over 2,600 yards on scrimmage in those 2 years. And this was also a time when the Big East Conference also existed, by the way, which is, you only think of them as a basketball only conference, but there was a time where the Big East was playing relevant football. This is a conference that actually used to have a automatic berth to like the what we call now the New Year's Six Bowls. So really love to see Larry Fitz in the Hall of Fame. Randy Moss is in the College Football Hall of Fame. So sportsreference.com, that's usually where I go to like for a lot of these like older players in case you're interested. So Randy Moss actually oversaw the transition of Marshall going from FCS football all the way up to like the higher echelon of Division I football. So Marshall was in the MAC in the late 1990s, and in the 1 year that Marshall was in the MAC with Randy Moss, unstoppable. 25 touchdowns in a season. 25. And it still wasn't enough to win the Heisman. He finished 4th in the Heisman Trophy race. Ends up having, an excellent career in the NFL. Love to see that from Randy Moss. An electric football player. Julius Peppers, can't be the same about him. Also going to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Had 5 career interceptions. I think that was an underrated part of his game for a defensive lineman, right? That is crazy to think about. Was in college for 3 years at North Carolina. Ends up finishing 10th in 2001 for the Heisman Trophy. We're talking about a defensive player. Ends up going on and being that number 2 overall pick by the Carolina Panthers in the 2002 NFL Draft. And then last person that I remember specifically is Alex Smith. Alex Smith, we talked about, a lot of people talk about, his early struggles in the NFL, and then Jim Harbaugh who's now the coach of Michigan, really help him find his NFL footing eventually before he gets traded to Kansas City and, had a solid career. But what made him the number one overall pick was the type of season that he had at Utah. And I think this was when Urban Meyer was the coach at the time, too. But in Alex Smith's final year, he threw for nearly 3,000 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. This was an exceptional football player at the University of Utah. And this was back when Utah was in the Mountain West, really put Utah football on the map initially. He ends up finishing fourth in the Heisman Trophy race ultimately. Heck of a football player. And I just wanted to give my flowers to all of those guys because those are guys that I specifically remember watching growing up. And one more thing while I'm thinking about it, Armani Edwards, quarterback at Appalachian State. He was there from 2006 to 2009. Led Appalachian State to an FCS national championship and also created one of the biggest upsets in modern college football history when Appalachian State went into the big house and beat Michigan. But I'm sure Michigan fans, are happy that times are a lot better for them now than it was in 2007. But definitely wanted to give all of those guys their flowers. Definitely loved that they are included in the College Football Hall of Fame. I'm sure we are not too far away from seeing Nick Saban being a part of that illustrious group because he absolutely deserves it.